Satnam, everybody. Satnam Aloha. Welcome to the live stream. And if you could put your name and where you're from, that would be great if you feel called to do that. Just turn that off. And I just want to get my headphones on here so I can hear. Okay. Let's get the comments up. Okay. And I could hear myself here. And we'll get started. Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay. Okay, yeah. I'm in a weird time zone, so I know that it's a weird time for people, but I try to do my best. And anyway, you can watch it again, right? You can watch the recording when it is processed at any time. And so this is all about, so I hope your day's going well today, your day or your evening. And this live stream's all about the Neptune Jupiter conjunction that is in Pisces. So we haven't seen that for 166 years. So this is a big deal, this conjunction. And I'm sure if you follow astrology, you've already heard about this. But I approach it from a different perspective with neutrino astrology, with the shadow patterns. So the last time of note, because I'm all about the spiritual, is it happened 166 years ago, and that was the beginning of the spiritual movement. So we can start to begin to see people become more interested in their spiritual development, their spiritual journey, which is like a blessing, right? It's a blessing in disguise. So this is going to happen. I mean, it's really conjunct now, but it's exact on April 14th or April 12th, sorry. April 12th is exact. So it's going to be, so Neptune, it's in the shadow pattern of the 36, and that's the shadow of turbulence, and it's the gift of humanity. It's the city of compassion. So Neptune's been in there in the 36 from March 7th, 2022, so recently, and it's going to stay there until April 2024. So we're going to feel this, right, until 2024. And Jupiter is in the 36 from April 7th, so yesterday, 2022, and then it'll be there from May 7th to 2022. So we're going to really feel this. And I was actually feeling it myself. It's very emotional, this energy, Neptune and Jupiter together. I actually thought, oh, I think I have to cancel today because I was, when you feel really emotionally raw. And I don't feel prepared. My mind was like, you don't feel prepared. And I reminded myself, my whole life is a preparation for this, and just relax. So this is going to be a wing it live stream for me, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so let's pull up the chart, and I just want to acknowledge the people that are here. So Marcus on the East Coast is going to come back. New York, yay. Satnam, aloha, mahalo. Montreal, Michelin, nice to see you. Nebraska, Vancouver Island, and I'm looking forward to this. Thanks from Calgary. Oh, look at the Canadians showing up. Yeah, very emotional time. So this is what we're going to talk about in this shadow pattern. It's all about the emotions. So let's pull up my screen, share my screen. Florida, yay, Florida, South Florida here. Okay, I'm getting better at this application. Okay, there we go. So me and the zodiac. There we go. Okay. So just a reminder to everybody, because people like reminding that we're evolving through our emotional body. There's no way, no how to get away from that fact. So it's all about the emotions right now. And if you can see my mouse pointer, we've moved from solar plexus, or sorry, splenic awareness system, right? The body, right? How we experience life. We've evolved out of that. This doesn't mean it disappeared, but it's not in the forefront for humanity. And then we moved into the mental awareness system, and this is how we experience life, is through the mind, right? And the mind is duality. And now we're in the midst of coming down here into the solar plexus awareness system. So there's lots going on, and this houses all of our emotions. This is the enteric nervous system down here, the second gut. The scientists are starting to catch on with this, what the solar plexus is all about. And so we're evolving out of the solar plexus when the emotional purification takes place. And that's going to take us into the vibrational. And this is where we experience life as spirit awareness, right? We're in frequency. We're in frequency. But before we get to that point, we've got a lot of emotional purification work to do. And so the emotions are very, very important right now. So with this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction happening, we're getting a boost of energy, and it's breaking down the barriers, right? It's breaking down the barriers, so no longer can you stuff down your emotions with your old tricks. You can't repress your emotions with your old tricks. That's not going to work anymore. And this is what I love about Kundalini yoga and meditation. That's kind of a main tool that I use besides, shadow patterns and in astrology. It's an ancient technology. It's 5,000 years old, and it's really designed for the time that we're in right now. And I remember going to my first Kundalini yoga class, but way back in 2000, and I was very good at repressing my emotions. South Node Capricorn, lifetimes and lifetimes of repressing those emotions. I got a job to do, right? I got duty. I don't got time for that emotional stuff. And I went to my first class, right? And I remember, I'll never forget this. And I came home and I could feel this rumbling, right, in my solar plexus. And I knew what was going on. Oh, there's some kind of emotions getting stirred up here. And so going for my old tricks, like a chocolate bar, smoking a cigarette. I smoked cigarettes then, right? And it was like, nothing was going to stop that. It was like this powerful emotional, right? This emotional pressure. And it was just like, I'm coming through. That's all I heard is, I'm coming through. Ready or not, brace yourself. And it's totally moved through me. And that's when I fell in love with Kundalini yoga, because I like things that work. And it's like, oh, this is powerful. This technology is powerful. So that's connected to my heal the emotional wounds. This is my 6-week program to heal your inner child. It's like a step-by-step, but it takes you into the emotional body. So I'm going to have that for $100 off. So you can go. I'm going to have a coupon for that, Jupiter-Neptune. You type that in, okay? So if you're ready to really start to do this emotional work, and I would urge you to, right? So there's lots of Kundalini yoga meditations in that, as well as teachings and exercises for you to do. Okay, so let's get back to this. So I did a chart when the turn's exact, right? So on April 12th, it's pretty much conjunct now, but it's exactly conjunct on April 12th. So coming up. And so we're feeling it. I'm feeling it. I'm seeing in the comments that other people are feeling it too. So there's Jupiter in the 36.2. And there's Neptune in the 36.2. So that is the second line. That tells us right now that it's about our relationships. This is all about our relationships. This is what connects us. Besides spirit awareness that connects us all as a humanity, it's our emotions. That's what really connects us. Okay? So this is like the barriers are coming down. And this is why it's good to do your own emotional work, because then you know what's yours and what's that other person's, Right now, when those walls start coming down with the solar plexus mutation that's coming, we're going to feel each other. Like like the most diehard materialist out there that doesn't believe in any of this, they think it's all woo-woo, they're going to feel their emotional self. So you can imagine the chaos that's coming. And that's why we're seeing so many mental health issues, because people are trying to control those emotions with the mind, and it's not going to work anymore, right? It's not going to work anymore. So keep that in mind, right? Whoever's in your life right now, they're there for a reason, right? And it's to bring up all these emotions that they didn't create, that have been there, right? They were there long before you met them. So just keep that in mind. So let's talk about this shadow pattern of the 36. Okay, and I got the heart there, right? Do you see the heart? That's the gate right there. It's the 36. So it's coming right off the solar plexus. So it's very, very emotional, this one. Okay, I gotta have my sip here. So it's the shadow of turbulence. The shadow of turbulence. So this means, you think of the word turbulent. So it's like, you know, if you think of water, right? Muddy water, how you get muddy water, it kind of stays like stationary. Do you know what I mean? Like it's stagnant, but as soon as you mix that water, it becomes turbulent, becomes activated, right? It becomes unclear. So this shadow of turbulence, this is what happens in our emotional body when it gets triggered. So if we use our mind and trying to make sense of everything, you can imagine you've got all this turbulence around you, right, in you, that you can't really think straight, right, when you're in that shadow pattern. So you're very reactionary and you feel vulnerable, right? That's the big thing here, is feeling vulnerable. So I just want to make sure here, just a second. Okay. Sorry. That's not it. Okay, let's talk about this turbulence. So the belief pattern is that you have nothing to do with the emotions, right? What you're feeling has to do with everybody else and life, and life's, you dealt me a bad hand, and it's all, right? Everything is random. I have no responsibility. I have no accountability. And what happens to me, that I'm a victim in this. And that's not true. That's when you're in the shadow of turbulence. So you can't communicate honestly, right, and cleanly with people, with other people, when you're in the shadow of turbulence, because you feel vulnerable, right? So this is why the inner child work is so important right now, you know, because as children from 0 to 7, our hearts were wide open, right? And so we don't want to feel that again, because we got hurt, right? With an open, if you trace your broken heart back, it goes right back to childhood. Somebody put on the boots, right? And they started stamping all over your heart, and then you closed your heart down, right? That's what happened. So the 0 to 7 is key, and everything's in there. Your past lives are in there. Your ancestral wounds are in there. It's all those patterns get laid down from 0 to 7, right? So this is also about feeling afraid, right? Of facing the unknown. This is the darkening of the light. That's the ancient word for the I Ching here, the darkening of the light. So it's feeling overwhelmed by your emotions. I can't handle this, right? I feel victimized. I feel vulnerable. And you wrongly believe, the shadow will say that you need to repress your emotions, or you need to guard your heart. You can't open up your heart to other people. So in truth, you know, there aren't good feelings and bad feelings. You know, they're all valid, right? They're all perfectly acceptable. So this is what we have to get into, that mindset of, like, everything is welcome, right? Every feeling that comes is welcome, good or bad. Don't let the mind judge it. It's necessary for your healing. So it's about suffering. And I know that sounds masochistic, right? About because religion's done such a trip on us with Christianity that we're good Christians if we suffer, right? If you suffer, you're a good Christian, you're a good person. This is a different kind of suffering. You know, there's the ego's version of suffering, which is like, I didn't get what I want. No, life's not going my way, right? That's the ego's version of suffering, which is just a reaction to life. Suffering is, in this term, you know, suffering is kind of our alarm clock that wakes us up to our spiritual journey. And suffering is, you know, in a nutshell, is opening your heart. That's what suffering, the purpose of suffering is, to open your heart. So if to look at it like that, like we all suffer, you know, if you talk to someone and they're really honest with you, they're suffering. Everyone on this planet right now is suffering in one way or another, right? But this is, if we avoid it and run to addictions and try to repress it, it's not, you know, it's not doing its job. It's just to welcome it, right? That's suffering, and the purpose is to open your heart. And in the Aquarian age, that's where we're going to. We have to move from that third chakra consciousness into fourth chakra consciousness, right? To open up our hearts. And actually, one of the sutras for the Aquarian age is understand through compassion or misunderstand the times. And that's the city, right? So humanity is the gift. When we're all in our hearts and we realize that everybody suffers, there's no randomness to the planet, you know, that we move into compassion. And that's the highest expression of the human, is compassion, right? To have compassion. Do you think we'd be over bombing people? Like, I hear that on this island. Let's just go bomb them. Why don't we just bomb them? And it's like, it hurts my heart to hear words like that. Like, I have to like kind of walk away from that kind of talk. And you hear it so much right now. And it's like, put yourself in that other people's shoes. There's people that are going to get bombed. There's people that are going to get hurt, right? We're all humans, right? So this is the point we have to get to. We wouldn't be doing this nonsense, projecting our shadows on one another, if we realize that we're all connected emotionally, right? Every single person on the planet is connected in that way. So this brings us into our humanity, right? What makes us human is our heart. We've got the higher chakras and then the lower animal self, right? And what brings them both together, our angelic self and our animal self, is our human. What makes us human, and that's our heart. Okay. So the other thing to know with this shadow of turbulence is to be aware, like become self-aware of what's going on in your body, right? So when you're in this emotional state, you can be nervous, like, you know, you may have seen those. It's really easy to see the shadow in other people. Nervous, and they're jumpy and they can't really sit still, right? They're always like on the go and moving their head around, and right, that's the extreme version. It's because they're emotional. They're having some emotions come up, and they're sending that out to the field. So what's that going to do to the field? It's going to bring experiences to bring that emotional turbulence up, right? Okay. I think I want to get right into the signs, and then I think other stuff will come up as we get into it. That's my sense anyway. So I just want to see. Okay. Right on. Okay. Yeah. I'm just reading the comments, everybody. Yeah, it's been very emotional. Crying at everything. You want to welcome those tears, right? This is part of our healing and our evolution. It's said it's through water. Pisces is very watery. Neptune rules the ocean, right? The ocean. Remember, Jupiter expands everything it touches. So it's a tsunami. We're moving through the collective unconscious of humanity. A tsunami of emotions are moving through us for this time. So don't make it wrong. right? Let's see. Angie B says, my boyfriend from the late 80s just made a really nice apology for the bad. Oh, isn't that nice? See? This is all about forgiveness too. This time, compassion is also about forgiveness. And forgiveness is to overlook, right? The ego is like, you're saying you condone that behavior when you forgive somebody. It's like, that's the ego, right? The ego wants revenge. It wants punishment. It wants justice. Our legal system's totally based on the ego. But to forgive is to overlook, right? I know that person is a higher caliber than this. You know, you hold that person in the highest esteem and you overlook, right? Not to say that, you know, if the person's coming at you with a knife or something, right, about to attack you, that's a different story. But I'm just saying things like, you know, I'm so offended. We live in a culture right now that everybody's so offended. We need forgiveness and we need to overlook that we're not perfect, right? Humanity is far from perfect. Yeah. And to forgive yourself. That's right. So that's true. We may be getting some apologies, right? So don't go. I was actually confronting myself on this too, because I'm owed an apology and I can feel that it's coming soon. Is first I was like, oh, it doesn't matter, right? Spiritual people can do that. It doesn't matter, right? Really? But it's like, no, in order for that person to receive the gift of apologizing to you, you need to receive. If you don't receive, they don't get the gift of that forgiveness. Do you know what I mean? It's not really coming from you. It's coming from the divine. So receive it. When the apology comes to you, just really receive it in your heart and let that person know, like, I really received that. Thank you. And then they'll receive, right? And then you're free. Free. The two of you are free from that kind of bondage that you're holding together. Yeah. Okay, so let's giddy up and we'll go right into Aquarius. And so if you have an Aquarius sun, moon, rising, you can put your name in there. And this is really for the collective too. Okay. And let's see here. So we got Aquarius. And I want to get my cards ready before we start. So those are ready, the ego cards. Okay. And let me just, scenes. Okay. Whoops. Wrong one. Okay. I just want to share screen. Okay. Okay, just bear with me, everybody. And then we'll be motoring fast. Okay. Okay, there we go. And we want to share. Okay. Okay. Just a sec. I got to get my astrology wheel. There we go. We're ready now. So Aquarius. There we go. In the second house. Okay, me in the zodiac. Okay, great. Okay, so Aquarius is in the second house. This Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. So this also applies to the collective. And we're really having a reevaluation of our values. This is also about our values, right? Venus rules the second house. So there can be that happening in the world. You know, and you can see this with inflation and everything, the costs of energy going up, the cost of food, second house rules food too, that we're rethinking, you know. I was thinking if I've started shopping like that a couple years ago and feeling really good about the value I receive from the food that I buy. You know, if it's like filler food, if it's like pasta and bread and things like that, there's not a lot of nutrition there. But if you look at the value of like, oh, I really spent my money well, right? Buying this particular food is of high value. So this would be important for you, Aquarius, to look at in terms of your money and what you value. And this is really an opportunity. Like, don't go into victim about this time that we're in right now. It's really about us stopping, right? Stopping and start reevaluating how we want to build and create this new earth, you know? So, just a sec. What else do I want to say about the second house? It rules. So your self-esteem, right? How you earn your money. And it also could bring loss, right? Neptune and Jupiter can be loss. So there may be food scarcity too. Not to scare people, but just to be aware of that for the collective. Depends on what your spiritual lessons are too, right? During this time. So, reevaluating what's valuable. So that's going to be more aligned with Jupiter and Neptune. So your beliefs, your spiritual beliefs, aligning more to spiritual, you know, like even looking at like where food comes from, back to food, where this food is coming from, like researching that a little bit more for yourself, like things like that. You may notice a change, but there can be a lot in terms of Aquarius in the second house. There can be a lot of self-esteem, right? Because it's bringing up deep wounding in the second house. So there can be a lot of self-esteem issues coming forward in your value in life, right? Do I have any value in life? Things like that. Because, you know, jobs, this is right? In money, everything's changing with this Jupiter Neptune conjunction. But remember, it's all for the best because Jupiter brings blessings, right? It's all for the best. So whatever losses you feel in the second house, Aquarius, it's going to be for the best, right? So if money disappears or there's a loss of money, just don't worry about it, right? It's just showing you something. And money is like a flow. It's a currency, right? So our job is to really watch it, the inflow and the outflow of money, right? Okay. In your talents, right? So Jupiter and Neptune too can bring talents forward for Aquarius, some new talents they didn't. And isn't it interesting? That's the ancient word for money is talents, because it's really coming from inside you, right? The money is really coming from inside you. It's through your talents, through your inner resources. It's like a whole spiritual approach to money. So we may see that on a collective too. So maybe embrace some of that too, Aquarius people. Is more like a spiritual approach to money. Would probably be really healthy for you right now to let go of any fear. Because this is emotional, right? The 36 is emotional, can bring a lot of emotions up, and nothing brings up emotions when that root chakra gets stirred up, you know? So let's do a card. So if you joined last week, I used the ego cards which are a really good complement to the shadow. The ego and the shadow kind of are toxic twins here. So this is going to give you more information about what's going on for the conjunction for you. For Aquarius. Okay, what do we have for Aquarius? This one right here. Okay, oh, look at that. That's called sin and karma. Sin and karma. So there can be, what I'm seeing here for Aquarius people is a past life vows of poverty, right? If you're attracted to this channel, you've had past lives in religious order. So this is, sin, like let's go to sin, because this has a real religious flavor to me, this card, this ego conspiracy. So this is the ego telling you that you made a mistake, right? That's all it is. A sin means make a mistake. Sin means miss the mark, right? That you made a mistake and you got to pay for it, right? You got to pay for it. So just because it's in the second house, it's going to be like, I deserve it, right? I don't deserve, right? I don't deserve money. I don't deserve wealth, any of that stuff, because I made a mistake and I have to pay for it. And that's the ego. And the ego believes in punishment. Have you done in the Course in Miracles? These cards are based in the Course in Miracles. I did it a couple years ago. The ego believes in punishment. And it's punishment from God. That's what the ego really, really fears, is punishment from God. So I'm going to punish myself first. I'm in control. So I'm going to punish myself first. And then God won't punish me. Like, that's the warped thinking of the ego. So what I would say is forgive yourself. This is about forgiveness. Sin and karma is forgiveness. Even if you don't know, it's like, I don't know. I can't remember my past lives, right? There's something that happened in your life around money that is an echo of your past life, right? So just forgive it all. Right? Please forgive me for any wrongdoing, any harm that I've done to myself and others in past lives, right? Because it doesn't serve anyone, right, to see a poor spiritual person. That doesn't mean that you're spiritual if you're poor, right? We're here, it's the world's coming right side up again. So I feel strongly that it's the spiritual people are going to start to be cashing in their chips, if you know what I mean. Right? That we're the ones going to be really expressing that prosperity for the world, right? I had another thought about this sin and karma for Aquarius. So releasing past life vows, that's a good one to do. And I actually have a video, my own video that I've done for that. I don't want to commit to anything right now, but I'll think about that, get that out for people, right? That they can access. So I would go in terms of this turbulent shadow in the second house and then sin and karma, is to really feel that I don't deserve, right? And it's really about your relationship with God. Right? This is about your relationship with God, because God forgives, right? The whole Bible thing that God's going to smite you and get you and judgmental. And it's like there's two gods in the Bible. There's like the Father, right? The Jesus version of his relationship to God. And then there's this other like nightmare narcissist of a God, right? The Old Testament God. So, right? It's really about us, that we have to forgive ourselves. Right? We have to do that work for ourselves. So you might as well forgive yourself now, but really like from a deep place, not from the ego. I forgive myself, and not go to the deeper emotions of that. Okay, so that's sin and karma. So there may be like for the collective, right? That kind of theme coming up too. with that we deserved it and we deserve to suffer like that, not in a high frequency suffering, but self-flagellation suffering, religious suffering. Okay, so what's the way, the gift here? This one. Wow, look at that. It's a picture of a Buddha, and it's called, I don't know if you can see this, it's called enlightenment. Enlightenment. Isn't that interesting to go from dropping sin and karma to enlightenment? So when we think of enlightenment, we always, some people are like, you get all the gifts, right? I'm able to manifest money, and I can manifest the perfect partner, and I can, this is the ego's version of enlightenment. I get whatever I want, right? That's what enlightenment is. I have all these special powers. I'm in control of my emotional self, basically, right? And then I'm not a human. So enlightenment in this context is really about recognizing yourself as light, right? Recognizing yourself as an eternal being of light, having human experiences. And in an expansion, this is what the emotional body work does. It expands your awareness. People that have had a major emotional clearing will say that. Like, I just felt so expanded afterwards. Like there was suddenly all this room inside me, right? Because the emotions like weigh us down. So that's what enlightenment is. It's like this expansion of awareness to see the truth, right? That you're just having human experiences. You're making mistakes. We're supposed to make mistakes. The 36 is all about getting us out in the world and having human experiences so that we can learn. And we're learning for all of humanity, right? When you learn something, it's going through the collective, and then the collective learns too. It's like that 1 minute mile. Before that person ran a mile under a minute, nobody could do it. But as soon as that one person could do it, then lots of people could do it. It's breaking through the morphogenic field, right? So this is really good for you, Aquarius, right? And the collective, if the collective goes for this, to let go of sin and karma and enlightenment. And this is not what religion wants. Religion does not want us to know that we're eternal beings of light with power. That's our power. Okay, that's beautiful for Aquarius. Okay. And then let's go for what is going on here. Okay, Aquarius. And then we're going for Pisces. Oh, I know. I'm locked out here. Here we go. Pisces. I'll take off Aquarius. There's Pisces. Okay. Okay, Pisces is 1, 2. Okay. I just got to fix that. So Pisces is in the first house. This turbulence, the shadow of turbulence is in the first house for Pisces. So this means you're going to feel it very, very deeply at a visceral level, Pisces. And you're sensitive anyway. Like you're really going to feel it here. Because the first house rules the body, right? So this can be a period for you of really being tested and challenged in terms of your emotions. And it's also a way, you know, this time too is to, because the archetype of Pisces is compassionate anyway, right? Compassionate people anyway. So you're getting like a huge upgrade in terms of your compassion. And it's a real way to look at those shadows, right? Like go deep into those the shadow of turbulence, of not presenting as vulnerable, right? Like finding, what I'm trying to say with Pisces is finding strength in your vulnerability. There's a strength in your vulnerability. There's a strength in your innocence. That's the one thing we should never lose, is our innocence. And it's not innocence without awareness, right? It's innocence with wisdom. Like a little baby is innocent, but it doesn't have the awareness from experience, right? But you do as an adult, Pisces. So just really claiming that for yourself, that you're innocent and there's a strength to that, and that to embrace, right? Embrace these high volatile emotions, right? Transmute them. You have that ability to transmute emotions in that way. So what do I want to say about that? And not to victimize yourself, because that's the shadow pattern of Pisces, is victimization. So not to feel victimized by your emotional turbulence. And yeah. And to look at it as, you know, the emotions are the whole, the new realm of human experience. So to look at it as an adventurer, because it's the Fool, right? The Fool is the first house. To set out, I'm setting out on this emotional adventure. So maybe you're attracting an emotional adventure to you right now. You're not going out traveling out in 3D world, but you're going traveling into the emotional body, and to have that kind of curiosity, like what's this going to bring? Where is this going to take me? And have that deep, hard opening experience. That's the payoff of the adventure, right? For Pisces. So really trust your own inherent strength. You know, all the stuff you've been through your life is preparing you for now, that you can handle all of this now as a Pisces. And people are going to be drawn to you, right? If you've done deep shadow work, people are drawn to you automatically. They can feel your frequency, right? They know that you know suffering, right? You're going to be sought after in these times that are coming, because we'll need people that are emotionally mature, not emotionally mature like I repress my emotions and control them, but you look in their eyes and you can say, that person's been through something. You know what I mean? You look at certain people in the eyes and it's like, oh, they've been through a lot. I can tell, and you can feel it, right? That depth, because we can only really help people to the depth of our own healing, right? So not to be afraid of your sensitivity, right? We're coming out, right? The frequency is, we're going down, 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 but then we're going up, 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 up. We're on the roller coaster ride, right? But we're going down, down, down right now, and we're coming up. So let's do a card for Pisces. Sensitive Pisces. Who's compassionate? Okay. And see what the ego is telling Pisces. These lies. Okay. What's for Pisces? Tell me what's for Pisces. Oh, I think Pisces got this card last time. It's the feeling unwanted. I'm pretty sure it was last week. If Pisces is out there, you can tell me that. So you can see the crowd of people, right, that are all together and walking forward, and then Pisces person in a little yellow t-shirt there is walking away from the crowd, so feeling unwanted. So, and this is happening in the first house. So, you know, I just want to talk about the child, because it goes back to childhood wound, right? Wounds, all of this stuff goes back to the childhood. This is feeling unwanted by a parent, right? You may have felt unwanted by your mother or your father or your family in general. Just not fitting in, you know? like you didn't belong. Maybe you thought you were like an alien that got dropped down into your family, or you were adopted, you know? And so that feeling of unwanted, it's that there's something wrong with me, especially as a Pisces living in this age that we've been in, like in super sensitive, you know, that you can feel vulnerable, like you don't want to be vulnerable again. You don't want to open yourself up to gain. I'm sure that as a Pisces, you've been, you know, exploited, taken advantage of, things like that, and feeling unwanted for you, right? People want the projection, right? Do you know what I mean? They don't want the authentic. They don't really want the authenticity. They want the illusion, right? That's the ego. So I would say to Pisces to really like reframe this and maybe look at like, oh, I felt unwanted by, let's say, your mother. I felt unwanted by my mother. Then turn it around and say, oh, my mother felt unwanted too. She felt unwanted. That's just a real mind, right? A mind expansion thought right there. My mother felt unwanted, right? And she was projecting that onto me. She was projecting on that to me. Maybe my mother wasn't listened to. Maybe, she wasn't allowed to be her authentic self. So here I am, a child, right? You're in your authenticity. Then the mother's going to project that onto you, right? You can't be authentic. I wasn't authentic, so you can't be authentic, right? I felt unwanted. So what happens there psychologically is you catch your mother's pain, right? And especially as a Pisces, you want to heal. You've come into a certain family because you have gifts to share, right? You want to heal your family. You want to heal your mother, but you caught her pain. You caught her pain of being unwanted. So what I would do, because there's a gift under that. Okay, so let's get the gift here. Let's see the way through, and then we can work with this. That's so interesting. It's twice in a row you got that card. Let's see what the gift is. Pisces has to share. This one. Oh, I knew it. Whenever I see a card and shot like I catch it through my side eye, it's like I know it's the one. Good fortune. You see that? It's good fortune. So it's a guy, he's surrounded by a treasure chest of all these coins. He's just sitting there relaxed. You can see that. So there's the gift, right? So underneath the feeling unwanted, Pisces, which is an ego conspiracy, the ego's telling you lies. Oh, you were unwanted. There's something wrong with you. They didn't want you. They wanted a boy, right? Or they wanted a girl. They wanted somebody else. They didn't want you. Look what's underneath it. It's good fortune. That's the gift. So whoever you felt unwanted by, either your father or your mother, you send them this gift, right, of good fortune. So this is blocking your prosperity right here, Pisces. So send them energetically. Energetically, I'm sending my mother or father, the one that I felt unwanted by. I'm going to send this good fortune. You know, I'm no longer claiming this. I'm no longer claiming this projection on me that I was unwanted. I just caught my parents' pain. And then you send the good fortune out. And then what comes back to you is good fortune. Good fortune's under here. So it's prosperity. Yeah. That's beautiful. That's for Pisces. Okay. So any Pisces out there? Okay. 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 Okay, some people had to leave. That's okay. Because it's getting late. It's getting late. Okay, so let's keep the show going. Is Capricorn. No, not Capricorn. Aries. Aries. Okay, so Aries is happening in the 12th house for you. Turbulence in the 12th house. So that's going to be intense because you have no control, and Aries likes to be in control. They like to do something, right? To get rid of those emotions. You got to do something. You have to act, take action. No victim as an Aries. So the 12th house is a completion phase. So that's good. So this turbulence is tsunami wave of emotion moving through your 12th house to complete something for cleansing, right? This is all about purification for us. And this is they call it the house of self-undoing. So it's like a cleanse for the ego. And right, the Aries is very connected to the ego, right? So, and this is how, I was just meditating on that narcissism because we're seeing that narcissism really popping up in the collective right now, and really seeing how we've been conditioned to be a narcissistic culture. And narcissists are it's a disease of the ego. And so I was listening to some psychologists about it that I respect, and they were saying, well, there's no cure for narcissism really, because they don't want to change, and you can't change a narcissist. But you know what changes, what heals a narcissist is life, right? Life brings people to their knees sometimes. This is the great humbling of the ego. And that is what heals the narcissist, right? Is life getting a great humbling of the ego. So this could be happening for Aries with Neptune-Jupiter in there in the 12th house, right? Getting a humbling, but you can't control it. There's no way of controlling it. And to just go with it, right? Just to go with it and reminding yourself that you're not your ego, right? You're not your ego. You could be looking at, past lives, having memories of past lives, of being like incarcerated, because 12th house is like prisons and solitude and things like that. There could be past life memories coming up, and you may not have, because you have no control. You may have the emotional memory, but you don't have the pictures and the proof. So just to go with it, roll with the waves of emotions moving through you, and to remind yourself that you're just, right? You're becoming more your authentic self, Aries. Yeah. And out of that will come compassion. I mean, that's the house of compassion, right? Pisces rules. That's your ruler of your 12th house is Pisces for Aries. Aries rising, sun, moon. And it's all about love, right? So you got to look at this like the tsunami of emotions. Turbulence is love. It's really divine love. It's like washing away everything that's not of love for you in the 12th house. So a good medicine for you is to be near water. If you're able to be near water, that will be very soothing for you. Maybe even if you don't live near an ocean or a lake, you could, bath water, Epsom salts, things like that. Like really maybe research what could really help you, or listening to your own intuition with the 12th house. Yeah, there's a real lack of boundaries in the 12th house, so you're really going to feel it, Aries. This Neptune Jupiter conjunction, you're going to feel it big time. Okay, so let's look at a card for Aries, and we'll see what the ego is telling Aries. Because the ego doesn't want you, Aries, to go into those emotional realms. That's where your power is alchemizing those emotions. So what's for Aries? Tell me what's for Aries. This one here. Judgment. Judgment. Okay? So the ego is getting you to judge your emotions, right? Your emotional self, or the vulnerability. Remember, the shadow is all about being vulnerable and feeling vulnerable. And what's judgment? It gets you up in your head, right? It gets you up in your head and out of your heart. And where the work is for you is in your heart, right? To feel what you're feeling and not to go into judgment. Judgment is this or that. So the thing with judgment, you know, spiritual people say it's wrong for me to judge and I shouldn't be judging and there's something bad about me because I'm judging that person. You got to know who's judging. Who is judging? The ego and the mind are judging. Okay? That's just what they do. The mind judges. That's what it does, because it's like two walnut halves, right? The brain. So it's this or that, this or that, this or that. That's how the mental awareness system works. And with that comes judgment. So we can't stop our mind from judging. The problem is when we identify with those judgments, right? We believe our mind, what our mind is telling us, that this person's bad, this person's good, right? Or I'm being good right now, I'm being bad right now. So it's just about meditation. Meditation is just to give you a relationship with your mind. So if you're in Aries, I've got lots of free meditations. I think I have 61 free meditations on my just my YouTube channel. I've got some on my website, neutrinoastrology.com. And this gives you the relationship with your mind, because that's what you really want. You want your mind to be your servant, not your master. So there could be a lot of judgment, like watch the ego getting in there, right? You can't be vulnerable or judging other people, right? They look at them, they're so weak, right? Because they're emotional right now. Right, so watch that. Watch that. Okay, so let's see what the healing card is for Aries. Okay, what's the healing card for Aries? Oh, that's a beautiful one. So there's Aries. It's called Grace. 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 And it's a woman with two little babies. She's holding two little babies, a mother. So grace and judgment. And judgment. So this is the invisible force, right? The invisible divine force that we have access to is grace. We say that, right? By the grace of God that I turned out this way and somebody else turned out the other way. It's compassion, isn't it? There's a frequency of compassion in this grace, the energy of grace. And judgment is so Old Testament, right? Good and bad. Grace is there's a humility, right, to embrace there of that there's grace even in the turbulent waters of the emotions. There's a grace there. Not everybody is privileged to experience like this expansion of awareness, right? They're stuck in it. And by the grace of God, you know, we can make all the effort in the world, but it's by the grace of God really at the end of the day if a healing takes place or not for us. So really to go into that state, you know, everything that's happening to me, everything that I'm feeling, no matter how uncomfortable it is, behind it is the grace of God, right? That's bringing me closer and closer to my divine self. You know, this is not taking you to your divine self. This is taking you to the ego, right? This is taking you to your divine self, is grace. And as you recognize, maybe you don't recognize grace in your life, but the more you even open yourself up to it, Like I don't see the grace. I don't really experience the grace, but I know it's there. There's a faith there. It's going to invite more and more grace into your life, right? So that's this invisible energy that's around you, protecting you, especially in the 12th house, right? It's like unknown. Everything's unknown and foggy in there. So that's beautiful for Aries. How to deal with that shadow during this time. Okay, then let's go for the Taurus. Oh, I learned a trick and it's not working. Okay. There we go. Let's go for Taurus. Aries. Okay, the bulls. Okay, what's going on for the bulls? And the 11th house. So feeling the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction in the shadow of turbulence in the 11th house. And that's your friendships. So there can be a loss there. You can be losing friends possibly during this time. And that's okay, right? It just means that they're not aligned with where you're going. The thing is with relationships, like all relationships, including friendships, is that they're mirrors. They're mirrors for us. So if you shift and you're growing and evolving, that mirror has to shift, right? That person has to shift, or they disappear, in a sense, like the universe just takes them away, right? Because, and then there's someone else's reflection. They're no longer, you don't really need them anymore as your reflection, right? They're not growing with you. So there can be, to go into compassion about that, like people are making their choices right now. And that's a hard truth to swallow, is that we can't save anybody, right? We can't save anyone. We can't change anyone. That's our power, really, is our free will on this planet. Everybody has free will. So just to be aware of that and the compassion, stay in your heart about it. Because remember, we're dealing with that wound of rejection, right? There's something wrong with them and they're weak and they're not, and they did this and they did that. It's like, have compassion, right? Everybody's in God's hands. We're all ended up in the same place eventually, but some of us are taking a canoe. Some of us are, taking a train. Some of us are in a car. Some of us are in a rocket ship. But we're all heading to the same place. But we're moving at a different pace, right? For Taurus. And what else did I want to say about the 11th house? Your hopes and dreams. It also rules hopes and dreams. So your hopes and dreams may be shifting and changing. Things that you dreamt about when you were younger, or maybe even like last year, what you thought you wanted, right? Is changing. Everything's changing because everything's aligning with the divine in your soul, right? So what the soul wants and what the ego wants are going to be different for you, right? So maybe security was really important to you at one point, and money, having lots of money and security and a retirement plan and this and that. And then suddenly all that's just going away. And it's like, whoa, what's happening here? Maybe things, because North Node is in Taurus too, that what you want, your hopes and dreams are much more simple, I really just want to have a peaceful life. I just want, a good community of friends. It's the 11th house that love and care about me and who I care and love as well, But the ego's hopes and dreams are always like, I'm the best. I'm at the top of the heap, right? I'm the best of the best, right? And then the soul's hopes and dreams may be completely different, but that's aligned with who you are. So it's going to come from you. You know what I mean? That those hopes and dreams are really coming from you. They're not coming from your parents, right? They're not coming from society. They're not coming from the external. They're coming from you, like actually from you. So to be open to that, right? To go with the flow. Taurus doesn't like to do that, right? As the bull, they want to be plot. This is where I'm going, right? Plodding along. It's like, no, you got to go with the flow, bull. You got to let go of your stubbornness and go with the flow. And so also new friends can appear, right? Or even friendship. Even that word friendship is going to be more and more important to you. This is the natural ruler of the 11th house is Aquarius, right? The age of Aquarius. Everything is built on friendship now. Even romantic relationships, it's all built. That's our foundation, is friendship. And that's actually the foundation of humanity too, is friend. We're coming back into friendship, right? Friendship. So these people, these friends that may be coming into your life, they'll be aligned, right? They'll be aligned with things that you care about, right? That you care about. Hopes and dreams for the future. It's very future oriented, and it's for the betterment of humanity. And so the divine love that can come in is feeling that you're not alone, right? As a Taurus, that you're not the lone bull out there in the field, right? That you have other people that are like-minded, right? So it can give you that really sense of community, which is really important for the Taurus in the friends. So the turbulence, right? The emotional stuff can come up when your friends may be disappearing, right? Or you need to change and you're resisting it. That can bring up turbulence too. So just to have compassion for yourself. Like, I can't believe my hopes and dreams are so shallow, right? Here I thought I was deeper than that, but I was actually really only concerned with survival issues with Taurus. It's like, right? Taurus, they like their material possessions and things. To just have compassion for yourself and for other people too that are locked into that state of consciousness, that that's all they want. That's all you want is a bunch of money. It's pretty low on the scale of hopes and dreams, right? And it's also, just sharing yourself more with this, like spreading your compassion and your humanity, especially in your groups of friends. Okay, so let's see what card the ego is telling Taurus. Okay. What's the ego telling Taurus? The 11th house. Turbulence. Oh. Also, Taurus, don't be afraid to tell your friends that you love them and you care about them. Be vulnerable with them, right? People like to feel appreciated. Some people are shocked when you say that, when you tell them that you love them. Like, you can feel like they get shocked by it. We have to start becoming emotionally honest with one another. My thing is like, what would I regret? You know, what would be my biggest regret? And it would be like, oh, I didn't express my love, right, to these people that I really cared about. Okay, so Taurus, a duplicate. Taurus has feeling unwanted as well. So you've got Taurus, you've got a connection with Pisces. That's what this says. So feeling unwanted by your friends, right? I've got no friends. I'm all alone in the world. Nobody wants to hang out with me. I'm such an oddball, right? I'm the oddball wherever I go. Remember, it's coming to me right now. Sometimes you have to look at yourself as you're the container for your friends. Okay, so you're the container for your friends. And so how can the container feel unwanted? Right? How can the container feel unwanted? It's impossible. They're actually containing the group of friends. And so what I would say with this ego conspiracy, because the ego wants to pathologize everything and make you wrong and small and there's something wrong with you, is to look at your group of friends. Like right now, look at your group of friends right now and look at, and you'll intuit, like who in my group of friends is feeling unwanted right now? Who's feeling unwanted? And a face will flash into your mind, or a word or something, or something that associates that, like a car. Oh, that's my friend drives that kind of car. Like you got some kind of sign that, oh, that's the person. Well, reach out to them. Reach out to them. Just automatically do that. I've done this, right? And people are so like, how did you know? I so needed to talk to someone today. And right? And it's like, yeah, we become angels for one another in that sense of the word. So that's what I would do, Taurus. Who in your group of friends is feeling unwanted right now? And just reach out. And as soon as you do that, like if you're feeling unwanted, somebody in your group of friends is feeling unwanted too. And then you reach out and you connect with them. And then that dissipates this ego. Because the ego doesn't want us joining like that. It wants us joining, fighting and in conflict and competing with one another. It doesn't want us joining in love, right? And caring and compassion. So that's what I would do if you're feeling unwanted through this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, is to reach out to the ones that you feel are feeling not wanted. That could be volunteer work, because it's the 11th house, right? So doing humanitarian service, right? It could be a dog place, or soup kitchen, something. Lots of people need help these days and support. But that will take you out of that, because the ego wants you isolated, right? Okay, so let's see the healing card for Taurus. Okay, healing card for Taurus. This one. Jumping out like crazy. Oh. We're getting some good cards today, you guys. This is Mastery. This is one of the big ones. Mastery. So it's a person that's sitting on a fountain. It's on top of a fountain. You can see the water is coming down, and people are drinking from the water. Yeah. So this is about sharing, because what is mastery? Again, right, the ego's version of mastery is I can manifest everything I want, and I'm a master, and people worship me and bow at my feet. But mastery is really mastery over your lower self, right? That's what mastery is, self-mastery. It has nothing to do with anybody else. It's about you mastering your own lower nature, your own animal self. So the animal self that says I'm unwanted, nobody wants me, I'm powerless, I'm a victim, right? And mastery is to see, right, that this is all a lie, right? This gift of humanity and compassion is showing us that we're all one, we're all connected, right? And look what this person's doing that's done the self-mastery. The friends want to bask, right, in this energy. You want to bask in this energy. They're not worshiping the friend. They're just basking in that energy, right? So it's making everybody feel welcome and included, right? That's going to help you. And that means including yourself. So you have to take action. You have to initiate, right? I'm feeling unwanted. I'm going to reach out. I'm going to join with other people that don't feel want. And this is what's going to happen, right? So watch that. The ego always wants you isolated and alone and blaming other people and blaming yourself, right? That's not the energy you want to be in. That's amazing for Taurus. Taurus and Pisces have a connection. Okay. And let's go for Gemini. Gemini. So Gemini, it's in the 10th house, right? 12, 11, 10. Yeah, 10th house. So this is all taking place in your work, right? This shadow of turbulence is taking place in your work area. So there can be emotions coming up around your soul purpose and your vocation, about your masculinity. So you're, you can be a man or a woman, but your masculine energy, and that's like that ability to act, right? Can bring up turbulence. Or men in your life, especially men in some kind of authority. So your boss or your husband or your spouse, right? So to really look at that for Gemini rising, sun, and moon is like I want to go right to the father, right? Because that represents the father, is the 10th house. To look at your relationship with your father, right? To look at your relationship with your father. And does that bring up turbulence in you? Like, oh, I can't let go of the past and what he did or what he didn't do. Because we also get angry at what our parents didn't do, as well as what they did do. To look more kind of deeply at that, because remember, the opposite of turbulence is compassion. So there may be a lack of compassion with your father, or because we project our father issues too. Like, we don't, even if your father's passed away, you're going to project it on a man, some kind of man in your life that you in a position of authority that triggers that wound. So I would look at that. And also to have more compassion about your soul purpose. I mean, the planet is so changing right now. Like, we can't, again, the plans that you made years ago of like, okay, I'll go to school and I'll get a training and then I'll do this and then I'll do that. That's all disappearing because the world is so in flux right now. To kind of give yourself a break, if you're putting that kind of pressure on yourself, that I've got to get my soul purpose and I've got to get out there. Gemini wants to get out there and be, and do it, especially if you have pressure maybe from your father, right, to do that. In your life calling, sometimes it's just about timing. It's really about timing. And the time right now is about doing this work, right, doing this emotional work. And also maybe about your reputation too, because the 10th house rules reputation. So maybe having some turbulence around that, some emotions coming up around your reputation. Have you been unfairly accused of doing something that you didn't do, or, right? To always take the high road, right? Always take the high road. Maybe about aging too. The 10th house rules aging. So you may be having some turbulence and emotions coming up about aging, and that puts an added pressure on your soul purpose too, right? Because it's time bound. The 10th house is all about being time bound. Okay, but I would look to the father because we're talking emotions, right? The father. Okay, to forgive your father. And remember, I've got the father-mother wound webinar, the two of them, right? As a combo. There's lots of stuff in there, and there's meditations and everything too to forgive your earthly mother and earthly father. Okay, so let's do a card for Gemini. We'll see. Gemini. Okay. So this is a weird one. This is Oedipal, the Oedipal complex. So this, I want to put it down into psychological terms, is really about a lack of bonding in the family. Oedipal conspiracy. So So a lack of bonding, lack of love in the family. So this is the thing with just because it's in the 10th house and it's the father, that there could be definitely father issues. That's what this card is saying, and a lack of bonding with your father. And the male has been so wounded. And I'm not gonna it's not making excuses for men right now, but how our whole family structure has been attacked in a way, with what do I want to say about that? Um, their gender, right? It's like these strict, rigid gender roles that men are like this and women are like this, and men aren't supposed to be nurturers, right? Men are just the providers, the breadwinners. I'm just speaking generally here, right? That it's done a great disservice for parenting and fathering, right? And it's a generational thing. I mean, things are changing now. Fathers are getting much more involved in parenting. But there could have been that, like this lack of bonding. My father wasn't present, or he was there, but he was watching TV or he was busy. So he wasn't emotionally present there for me. I didn't really get that guidance that I needed from my father. And so that brings up a lot of sadness and how this plays out, right? Because all of these issues get played out in your life. So I'm having relationship issues, all these relationship issues. Then you go back to the mother. Oh, this really has to do with my relationship with my mother. Career issues, money issues. This goes back to the father, like issues around your father. So you have to see him. You got to rise up, right? Rise above and see that he's a victim of this system. Because we can get into that, like, well, the men have all the power and the women don't, right? The women haven't had all the power. You can't get into that. It's the system that's broken, right? Nobody wins in this system of the patriarchy, right? So he's a victim too. Your father's a victim of this system, right? And some men, like right when they're boys, right, get shamed if they're nurturing or sensitive, right? Yin males, they get shamed, so they don't want to express this part of themselves. But the divine feminine's returning, and it's not coming through who we think it's coming through. It's coming through the men. The divine feminine is coming through the men. I find that really, really funny. Funny in a good way. It's like a surprise from the divine. Okay? So really reach with this Neptune, like all that father wounding is going to come up for you, to really reach for compassion for your father, right? And then in turn, you send that energy to him with the Oedipal here. Okay, let's see the healing card for Gemini. It's called having it all. Having it all. Right? So here we've got something missing. Right? The father's missing here. So having it all is to open up to that, Gemini, that you can have it all. And you can see there's a family here, and they're all in the backyard. There's a little Todd on the swing set, and then parents and another like in the backyard, so that you can have it all. That's what God wants for you, to have it all. And so this is showing that you're missing something, right? The thing is, people like to oh, I'm done with my family, especially spiritual people. I want my spiritual family now. I'm done with my family. The thing is, all your patterns are there with your family of origin. You don't escape your family of origin. We recreate them in the workplace. We recreate them with our friendships. Even if you're in a roommate situation, you recreate your family there so you can deal with this, so you can heal this, right? So this is what's missing, and then you can have it all, right? So do that work. If you have any issues with your parents, one of your parents, that's your work to do. That's your real spiritual work to do. right? Okay, that's good for Gemini. And then let's see, Cancer, right? Where's Cancer? There we are. There's Cancer. Cancer's hiding in their shell. Okay. So Cancer. Let's see here. Cancer. Oh, there you are, Cancer. So 12, 11, 10, 9. 9th house. So this is taking place in the 9th house, the shadow of turbulence for the Cancer folks. Cancer rising sun, moon. And so the 9th house is all about your sense of adventure, right? The 9th house is optimistic and it's adventurous. So there can be some, maybe you're afraid of expressing that, right? Cancer, you're afraid of expressing that sense of adventure and exploration and heading to new frontiers. And there could be fear too, right, coming up. Because you're Cancer, you like your home, right? The 9th house is all about getting out there, right? And on an adventure, on a wild adventure. So there could be some turbulence, emotional stuff coming up around that. And also about your teachings, like spiritual. This is the teacher, the spiritual teacher. So there could be some turbulence, emotional turbulence coming up around that. Like maybe some religion that you've been part of. Like religion is a big part of the 9th house. And spirituality can be, and philosophy, things that you believed in before. Maybe Neptune-Jupiter is going to take that away from you. It's like, oh, I don't believe that anymore. There's nothing there. So just trust that something better that's more aligned for you is coming for you in that department. Like, don't get afraid if you're in an in-between space. And don't make it wrong, right? I feel like spiritual paths in teaching, sometimes they're just stepping stones, right? We outgrow them. Doesn't mean they're bad and wrong, but we outgrow them and we move on. And something else comes to us that's more appropriate for our spiritual journey. So new relationships can come into, like especially foreigners that aren't from your country of birth, right? And grace. That's a big one for the 9th house is grace. Grace can be coming through. So just know that if I'm feeling lost, if you're feeling lost in that area of your life, that grace is just moving things out. So new things can come in because it's an expansion of consciousness, right? The 9th house. It's just to allow it. And remember, the expansion of consciousness comes through the emotional body, right? So just to trust that. And then searching for meaning, right? Like getting deep, like there's got to be something more. And your emotions are going to show you what's not working for you anymore, right? That turbulence. So have compassion for the losses that you'll experience with this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, but also the love, right? The love that's coming in for you to expand your awareness. Yeah. Okay. And also, this brings in downloads too, right? Neptune, Jupiter brings in down, because Jupiter's wisdom, right? It's a guru. And Neptune is spirituality. So in 9th house is like, it's downloads from like the mind of God. So to be open to that too. Open to that, but you got to get through the turbulence, right? So that means just feeling, opening your heart, and it comes, this is also the house of intuition. So, some people have the third eye and it's like, I have an intuition about something, but I'm disconnected from my heart. You need your heart, right? You need your heart because the heart is like the translator of your intuition. If your heart's closed and you're just in the third eye, it's not really intuition, right? Because the heart has to translate it, right? The heart has to translate it for you. And that's when it becomes clear, right? Any intuition that's telling you that person's trouble and stay away from that and that doesn't feel right, you know, that kind of energy, that's not your intuition, because you need your heart. Like, yeah, you got a feeling about something, but you got to translate it. And the Google translator is the heart. The heart's going to translate it for you. So that means you need to go through this purification. And then your intuition is going to be so on point, you know, for you, Cancer. And Cancer, you're a feeler anyway, right? Cancer rules the emotions anyway, right? So it's just about going deeper into the emotional body. Okay, so let's do a card for Cancer. See what the ego is telling Cancer. Okay. What's the ego card for Cancer? I think we got this one last week too. Sacrifice. Sacrifice in the 9th house. So you can see that he's got, there's like a couple people going up the mountain, and one of them's got the big knapsack on, the other ones don't. It's like this person's carrying all their stuff too, right, up the mountain. So this sacrifice in the lower frequency of the word, because there's a higher frequency to sacrifice too, is sacrificing the higher version is sacrificing your lower self into your higher self, right? That's the higher frequency of sacrifice. This is doing the work for other people, you know, doing God's job. And this is old. This is so old because it's in the 9th house. It's a house of religion. It's so old that to be a good religious person, right, is to take on the burdens of others. No, just let me do it, right? I'll do it for you. And what you do, you know, there's this old saying, if you pick someone up, right, and carry them and you let them down and put them down, they're going to end up in the same place that you picked them up in. It doesn't help, right? It doesn't help at all. It always reminds me of the butterfly. You know, I know that's like such a cliche, right, for transformation, but there's a lot in it. And so the butterfly, when it's in the cocoon and it's just about to come out of the cocoon, it's using its wings, like its wings, to break open the cocoon. And what it's doing, right, is strengthening the wings. That's what it's doing. It's strengthening the wings, and then it breaks out of the cocoon and then flies away. So people, when they come from this space of sacrifice, right, and they project themselves like onto this butterfly, that the butterfly's struggling, I better help, right? And then they scratch the cocoon, and then out comes the butterfly, and it's got like the butterfly ends up with this like hurt, crippled wing. It can't fly, right? Because it didn't have that experience of strengthening its wings. So that's what I see with this card. The ego is telling you that you're helping people, right? By hurting yourself, because that's what you're doing, is hurting yourself. And you got to let people have their lessons, their spiritual lessons. They have to experience their own strength, like that butterfly, right? And then it's theirs. If you do it for them, right, it's not theirs. It fosters this dependency on you. So I would watch that. Like if the ego is telling you to do this, because if it's not true, if it's not in truth, you're going to eventually feel resentful, right, towards the person that you're helping, right? So really tune in with, like, am I really called to help this person in this way, or can I help them in a different way, like empowering them to do it themselves, like teach them the fish, right, rather than give them the fish, that old saying. So I would watch this in the ninth house. So this would be like for spiritual teachers, things like that, or religion. Let go of any religious dogma that you've taken on in the past about this idea of sacrifice. This does not make you a good person, right? That's a lie by the ego. Okay. And let's see what the healing card is for Cancer, and then we'll have a look at the comments. The healing card for Cancer. Okay, healing card for Cancer. I want to go this one here. Oh, Destiny. You can see him, right? He's got his arms up and he's got a rainbow over his head. Your destiny. So this is keeping you from your destiny. The ego is keeping you from your destiny, telling you gotta sacrifice yourself, right? Look at the difference. That person with the big sack on his shoulder, burdened, right, by other people's luggage and baggage, and then the destiny. He looks like he's like on cloud nine, right? Yeah, so it's avoiding your destiny by doing this. So there's a payoff, right? With the ego, there's always a payoff. Oh no, I look at me, I'm a good person. And you're conditioned to do this. You know, you may have had a mother that taught you that you should sacrifice. You could sacrifice your childhood, right? Maybe take care of your siblings, do all that work, sacrifice yourself, and that you're a good person, and then this keeps you away, right, from destiny. So I would let that shadow of turbulence, the emotions, come up around that realm, right? That you don't have to have that expansion of consciousness with the ninth house, that you're to follow your destiny, and that everyone is in God's hands. Everyone's taken care of. You don't have to play God, by sacrificing yourself. Okay, that's great for Cancer. And then let's go for, we're at Leo. But let me look at the comments. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's go for Leo here. There we go. There's Leo. So the Leo is happening in the 8th house. Okay. And yeah, this is heavy. If you follow the tarot, this is the 9 of Swords, up at night with all the swords coming at you. This is anxiety. It's the dark night of the soul, which is the shadow of turbulence. It's the darkening of the light, right? Everything becoming darker and darker and darker so you can be reborn. So this is like emotions, this tidal wave and tsunami of emotions that are coming from like out of nowhere. And this is forces beyond your control. So this is past lives, right? This is the realm of past lives. So you have no control over this shadow of turbulence moving through your unconscious. So it's best to just to surrender to the process of it. And so something in your life here with turbulence is falling like a tower, right? Something in your life is falling like maybe it's just your own sense of self is falling apart, right? This old self is falling apart. It's dying, right? So this new you can be born. So it can also, there's lots of gifts that come with this because this is psychic insights, right? It's the house of the psychic. You can receive really penetrating insights like out of the blue after this emotional clearing, right? And then it's going to, because it's Jupiter and Neptune, so it's going to dissolve, like, how the other houses are losing something, like friends, right? The 11th house for Taurus. Well, this is losing deep wounds, right? Deep phobias, deep traumas will be cleansed from you, right? So just to, it can be a real blessing for you. It's like you're being born again, basically. You're being transformed. And this is a great reboot, right? For Leos, it's a great reboot for you. Debt can disappear too if you have debt, things like that. But the buried trauma is the big one in your past lives. So I would just open up, like just open yourself up to this shadow of turbulence and have compassion for yourself, have compassion for others, right? Like really use this as a time to retreat and really take care of yourself emotionally. That's what I would say. Yeah, very powerful what's happening for you. And so there can be a loss too of people in your life, maybe a partner too, but it can also bring in partners because it's the 8th house, right? So this is like marriage partners, right? Deep intimacy. So it can be cleansing away because the barriers are coming down. So any wounding you have around intimacy, right, can be being washed away so that you can really bring in and draw in the spiritual, because it's Neptune-Jupiter, the spiritual partner, equal coming in for Leo, rising moon or sun. Yeah. Yeah. So dark night of the soul for you. Okay. So let's see what we got. A card for Leo. Card for Leo. What's the ego telling Leo? What's the ego telling Leo? Why is the ego telling Leo? There you go. Here's a heavy one, right? This is the heavy house anyway. Jealousy and possessiveness and obsession and of course hatred. Hatred's in there too. Hatred. So let's bring this back to the self, because the ego wants you hating other people, right? To project that onto other people. And you can see it's a little girl kicking a boy, called hatred. And usually people that express that kind of hatred are projecting their own self-hatred onto another person. So let's go right to the source of this. This is about finding an area, because it's the 8th house, a little secret stash of self-hatred, right? That's the light's going to be shining on that. And it's not just to look at it, like, oh, look at that, I hate myself. It's like to feel it, like to really, really feel it deeply. That's what this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction is going to help you with, is to let go of this self-hatred, right? The self-hatred, and to let go of all the projections like you may have experienced, especially as a child, where somebody has projected their own self-hatred onto you, right? And sometimes if you're getting that negativity at you, I've done this before, somebody like clearly projecting on me, and it always goes through my filter. Is there a message here for me? No. The message is, don't project your self-hatred onto me. Like I've said that to people, please don't project your self-hatred onto me anymore. And it really right? It's like the truth, it's like the truth bullseye gets in and the person's like kind of speechless, because I'm talking to their soul, right? I'm not talking to their ego, I'm talking to their soul. And then they catch what they're doing, right? This is about you. It's not really about me. But you can only get to that point when you've done lots and lots of shadow work to be able to discern, right? Is this a projection, 100% projection, or is there like a little piece for me in there too? Yeah, but only you'll know that. So that's what I would say here, is to have compassion for yourself. Whenever you go into that space of like, oh, I hate myself, that is not you, right? You're all love. Like that's your essence, is love, right? That's your true essence. It's not this hatred, right? That's 8th house, past life stuff right here. That's what I see with this conspiracy. And please don't project onto others this, right? Don't project this onto others. Soon as you're like, this person's this and their person, then you're projecting your shadow. The 8th house is the shadow. So don't do that. Take it in and feel it. And you feel it to the end, right? You'll grieve. There'll be a grief and an emotional release. Then when somebody comes at you with this, you're like, that's not me. You'll be like Teflon. It won't even get in, right? It won't get in. If it's getting in, that means it's inside you somewhere, right? And you'll attract people into your life that are going to bring that out in you, right? Like, why is that person so mean to me? Because you got that inside you, or you're being mean to you, right? Yeah. So let's see what the healing card is for Leo. Hatred. Such a strong frequency, isn't it? That word hatred. Even when people say like, I hate something, it's like always like, that's a strong word to use. Like, you don't like broccoli, right? To watch our language. Okay. So what's the way out for Leo here? What's the way out for Leo? There's another one. Living your purpose. Living your purpose. Yeah. So it's a figure just on top. It looks like he's on a little mountain. Living your purpose. Living your soul's purpose. So this hatred is keeping you from living your purpose, right? So you can't drag this, right? This is such low frequency energy. It's coming from your past lives, Leo. Coming from your past lives. This, you were taught to hate yourself, right? You're projected upon, you bought it. It's like everybody with shadows, it's like we're all carrying our big bag of garbage, right? Everybody's got their bag of garbage that they're here to transform and transmute, right? And then some people try to trick other people into like, take my bag of garbage too, right? It's like the sacrifice card. Here, you take my bag of garbage because it's yours, right? It's gaslighting. This is yours. What are you talking about? That's not mine. It's yours. So you end up with this hatred that you've taken on, right? And it's going to play out in childhood too, to have a parent like hate you, hate themselves, and then project that hate onto you. And it keeps you from this, living your purpose, right? So your purpose is to be yourself. Some people think purpose is a job. It's not a job. Your purpose is to be your authentic self, to be who you were born to be, right? Your original self. That's your purpose. And then out of that comes your contribution. That's a different thing. It's a different animal. But for your purpose first and foremost is to be yourself, and then your contribution comes out of you being yourself and living your purpose. So what's going to come out of that, right? What kind of contribution is going to come out of that? Nothing that's going to serve humanity, because it's not authentic. It's not who you are. So this Neptune-Jupiter is going to like take this away. This is like the cesspool, you know, and then the clean water's coming in to take that away. And you don't have to do anything. It's going to be really easy. This is a blessing. Let the tidal wave take this away. Don't hold on to this. This isn't who you are, right? And then from that comes this, living your purpose, right? Being yourself, like fully yourself. So you're being reborn, Leo. That's what I see with this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. Like say bye-bye to that old self, right? The self of self-loathing. That's not you. Not you at all. I'm excited for the Leos. Okay. Let's go to Virgo. Let's go for the Virgos. Let's go for Virgo. There's the Virgo. And the Virgo is going to happen in the 7th house, right? Just want to keep this so I stay on track. So this is the area of partnership, Virgo. So you're going to feel turbulence with your partners, So feeling like this is the relationship house, right? For Virgo, it's all about your relationships. I mean, for all of us, it's all about our relationships. But it's really really focus on that, right? During this Jupiter Neptune, because it's in the second line, right? So it's all about relationships. But it's really for Virgo, it's going to be up in your face. So this could be your marriage partner, your spouse, someone that you have a contract with, right? With the 7th house. So turbulence with your partner, fear of being vulnerable with your partner. Maybe your partner's feeling vulnerable, too vulnerable, right? That won't share their self emotionally with you, right? So to be aware of that it's going to come through this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. It's going to come through your area of partnership, and taking away a partner, because it's Jupiter-Neptune, so it could be a loss, there could be a divorce, a loss. But again, to trust that where there's loss, don't fight and don't cling to it, right? It's being taken away from you for a reason, so that something better can come for you, Or maybe you're not in a partnership, right now. Well, that means that there'll be someone coming in, and they're going to be more spiritually aligned, right, with you. So to also you may be being called to be more compassionate with your partner. Maybe you're Virgos can be really critical, right, of people and themselves and other people. To just have some more compassion for your partner, more compassion for people, because the 7th house is other. More compassion for other people, like coming from your heart, right? That people aren't perfect, and that really all of us we are trying to do our best according to our state of consciousness, the consciousness we're in. We are trying, like everyone is, to their ability. It may not be to your ability. Okay, and also to have compassion for yourself too, right? So sometimes that means setting a boundary. The 7th house is also about setting boundaries, right? So that's an act of compassion sometimes, is to be able to set a loving, healthy boundary with another person. Yeah. Okay. So relationships for Virgos. So let's see what the ego is telling Virgo. What's the ego telling Virgo? This one. So it's family. We got this card last week too. Family. So all the issues with your partner, go rewind them back to your family. That's what this is saying. So if you have a husband, sometimes, in terms of family dynamics get played out. You can have a mixture of your mother and father within your partner. Doesn't always have to be the same sex. Sometimes it's more patterns with your mother are expressed through your husband or male partner, right? But it goes back to your family. So a really easy way to work with this is to write, even do a relationship history, because this is the relationship house, right? Do a relationship history, Virgo, where you list all the qualities of your exes, like significant exes, that weren't little flings, right? Don't look at them. But significant ones, that you lived together, or you were together for a couple of years, or you were married even. and just do an inventory. So what you do is you write down all the qualities that you loved about the person, like what attracted you to them in the first place, and then write all the cons of, like, Virgos are going to love this because it's all about discernment and analyzing. They love analyzing. And then you write all the negative stuff that drove me. Oh, it drove me crazy with him. He was always late, right? If we went out to dinner or we went to a movie, he was always late. It really bugged me about him. And then you write stuff like that down, right? And you do that for each one of your relationships. And then you go to your mother and your father and you do the same thing. What I really loved about my mother, what I really loved about my father, right? And then what it drove me crazy about them. And then you look, right? And then you start connecting the dots. And then you see who's who. Oh, that ex that I had, 5 years ago was like a combination of my mother and father, or they were so like my mother, more like my mother. This ex was more like my father, because one of the reasons, the old Piscean age reasons why we're drawn and attracted to each other, is to heal those inner child wounds, right? So that we can resolve them. So that's what I feel like that's what this family card is telling you, that's some healing to do, especially if you don't have a partner, Virgo. This is a good, like, getting yourself ready, right, to attract a healthy partner where you're not attracting your inner child wounds, where you're attracting from spiritual adult position. That's what I would say. It's funny, how we attract our family. It's just crazy. I remember when I first did that exercise, I was shocked at how much my exes reminded me of my mother. Okay, so let's go for the healing card for Virgo. Okay, the healing card for Virgo. This one's jumping out. And it's called centering for Virgo. Centering. So she has her hands in prayer pose. She looks like a yogi. She's about to do sun salutations or something. But it's about centering in yourself. So this is great, right? This is really good advice, especially in the shadow of turbulence, right? The turbulent waters, and you're going to be in the center of the storm, where it's safe, like in your center, right? And then experiencing this, especially if you have your partner. If you have a partner who's in that turbulence, right? That stay centered, don't react. Just breathe in your center. Let them have their experience, their emotional experience. Or if you're feeling that yourself inside, it's like, go to the center. There's a play. I remember this when I first took Kundalini Yoga teacher training, and I would get so triggered when I got sick, when I was having a physical clearing. That's what I call it now. But I would, during the program, I would get the flu. Like, it seemed like every week I was getting something, right? But my body was clearing all this karma, right, from my body. And I'm a fifth, pathline of fifth, so 5 is the body. And I went deeper. It's like, okay, I'm going to surrender to this experience. And I really went deep inside myself, like deeper than this physical form, physical body, to my center. And it was so calm and peaceful. And I didn't feel any of that stuff. Like, or if I did, it was like so distant, right? So you can do that with your emotions too, with your emotional body, is to really go, like, I'm going to go so deep inside myself. Like, there's the ocean, the turbulent waves. I'm not going to be tossed and turned by that, but I'm going to go, like, sink deep into the ocean, to the bottom of the ocean where it's all peaceful and calm. And I'm going to be there as this happens around me. I'm not going to react from that place, because I know a great cleansing, a great purification is happening for me in my relationships, right? And then you only then can you have that compassion. And I'm not saying that you're not going to feel. You're going to feel, but you're going to feel from a centered place, right? This is your place of transformation, transmutation. You can do a lot of work here in the centered place, not from here, like family stuff, you know? That's when you're up on the top of the ocean, being whisked around back and forth. Okay, so let's go for Libra, right? Yeah, Libra. Libra. Okay. So Libra is taking place in the 6th house, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, in the 6th house. So there can be emotions coming up in your job, your place of work, because Neptune-Jupiter could be loss of job for Libras, like lose your job suddenly because there's loss, or a new job coming in. Remember, if something goes, the universe doesn't like a vacuum. Something new will come in that's more aligned, and it's going to be more aligned with your spiritual values, right? It's not going to be a job just for money. Not for you, Libra, right? So remember that. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not here just to work, pay bills, get in a codependent relationship, right? As a Libra, retire and then die. You're here for a greater purpose, right? So if the job's going, God took it away. And that's just go into that state of consciousness that something better is coming that's more aligned with me. So this could be your health too. Neptune-Jupiter could give you, take away maybe a chronic health issue that you've been dealing with for a long time. Jupiter and Neptune could say, because it's the realm of miracles too, right? There could just be this great solution where it just kind of disappears. Oh, I had that back problem for so long, and then I woke up and it was gone. It was like a miracle, like things like that. Also, your mental health can bring a mental health issue up for you too with Neptune-Jupiter. Can bring that up for you of like, oh, I can't believe how I've been so ruled by my mind and my crazy mind. I really see it now, right? I can really see what it's doing now. You know, like depression, anxiety, worry, things like that, you'll become more and more aware of. That are really, it's like, because it's a house of solutions too. So you can see like, oh, I get worried about money. It's not really about that. It's about this turbulence inside me, this emotions, because they're going to be so powerful that the mind, right? That's like, oh, it triggers my mind to start worrying about this, but it's not really about that problem. It's really about these emotions, and the mind's trying to cling on to something, trying to control it, like, and find a solution through the mind. But your solution isn't through the mind, it's through your emotional body. So it's feeling that, right? Feeling that. So I would watch that, like mental health issues. Like this is a time with Neptune-Jupiter conjunction where you can really get in touch with what it's really about, what the source of it is really about, you know? Because remember, with the solar plexus mutation, that emotional wave is going to come to a still point, right? That's going to be a game changer on this planet, because right now we're ruled by that emotional wave, right? People don't realize it, that it's really they're being controlled by their emotions, right? They think they're in control, but they're not. Their minds completely hijack them, but it's not the source. The source is the emotions. Okay, so let's do a card for Libra. Let's do a card for Libra. Okay. What's for Libra? Card for Libra. Oh, we had this last time. I think this was for Taurus last time. No, it was for Cancer. This is the undoer. The undoer. Yeah. So this is the self-saboteur, right? That part of you that sabotages yourself. It's also rooted back to hatred, actually, thinking about the hatred card, the undoer. So this is when things seem to go wrong, you know? It seems like every time something good happens, something bad happens at the same time. You know? I come into this windfall of money, and then my sister or something comes up with an emergency, and I give her that money, and then I find out later that that money really wasn't mine. I thought it was mine, and then I'm in debt, you know? Like, just things like that. Something good happens, something bad happens at the same time, where you lose out, where nothing seems to be going your way. Well, that's a sign that this undoer is at work. So this is the hand of the self. It's like self-sabotaging yourself, right? So it's automatic, right? It's an automatic thing. It's coming from your subconscious mind. It comes from your childhood, right? And it's that part of you that doesn't, you know, there's a part of you that wants to move forward in life. And then there's the part of you that doesn't feel like you deserve it, or you deserve to be happy, and will hold you back. So subconsciously you sabotage yourself. You do, if you look at, like, if you rewind and look back at that pattern, you know, where, okay, something good happens, but then something bad happens. It's really easy for the mind to, like, well, of course something bad happened. This had nothing to do with me. You got to go deeper. It's like, what? And rewind to, like, oh, and you'll find something. Oh, I did this, right? I did this. And then this happened, this undoer. So you want to let go of this undoer. And it's happening. I feel like this is the solution, right? You're going to be aware of how much you've been self-sabotaging yourself, Libra, right? Yeah. Just come here, Bubba. Little G wants to come up. Okay, so let's go for a healing card. Libra. For the undoer. In the 6th house. Okay. It's this one. There's the butterfly. Isn't that interesting? So that's the transformation card, and it's a butterfly that's coming out of the cocoon, which I talked about before in another sign. So this is, the undoer wants to prevent this, right? And that's transformation. It wants to prevent this. And Jupiter, Neptune is this. You're going through a huge transformation, right? In the 6th house areas of your life, right? And the undoer is going to want to stop it, right? So you're going to see this pattern, Libra. This is good. You're going to see this pattern at work, right? And then once you bring the awareness of it, that's what the solution is. You don't find the solution with the mind. That's what the 6th house will want to tell you. You find it by bringing the light of awareness. Oh, look at that. I caught it in action. I was about to self-sabotage myself, right? Then this happens, transformation. You don't have to do anything about it or remind yourself or go to therapy about it. All you have to do is see it. And right there, the light of awareness on it, then the transformation starts to happen. Because that's really what does the healing, is the light of awareness, right? The divine. So that's awesome. Yeah. And just have compassion for yourself, right? This isn't an opportunity to beat yourself up about it. About, oh, I can't believe I've been doing that for so many years. It's like to bring compassion. I didn't know, right? Hindsight is 20/20. I didn't know I had this pattern, but now I do, and I can correct it and let myself transform. So it sounds like you're going to go through a huge transformation in your health, in the work that you do too. Yeah, which is great for Libras. Okay. And then we're going for Scorpio. Scorpions. And they're going to be in the 5th house. Here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, Pisces in the 5th house. So this is your house of enjoyment. It's your children. So if you're a parent, it's going to be your children could be bringing some stuff up for you, Scorpio. Right? Bringing up some turbulence. Maybe they're showing that to you too. They're not vulnerable with their emotions, or maybe they've reached a stage in their development where they're not so emotional, not so open, especially if they come into the teenage years, right? They're not so close and vulnerable with their parents anymore, because you have to remember too, children are going through a phase, they've got to separate from the mother, you know? They've got to separate from the parents. It's just a natural stage in their development. So there could be emotions coming up around that, right? Because it's almost like Scorpio, right? You're about transformation. You're about like death, the phoenix rising from the flames. You're all about that. That something could be transforming in that area for you, right? That's going to bring up a lot of emotions. So to have compassion for yourself, because grief can come, right? Grief comes with any loss, any kind of loss. It's also your area of pleasure and laughter and fun and romance too. So it could be taking away a romantic partner, the Neptune-Jupiter conjunction, especially if it's like super shallow, like kind of a super shallow relationship, to bring in someone that's more aligned with you, with spiritual values. It can take away like your pleasure and fun too. And that means like the ways that you used to have fun and pleasure. Maybe you liked, oh, I really like drinking, right? I really like drinking tons of wine and eating bad food. And then that's kind of taken away from you. And it's because you're being called to find things that are more aligned with having fun for you, right? What that means. Just transformation, more transformation. And having compassion. Maybe if you have a romantic partner, maybe you're being called to have more compassion for your romantic partner or your children. Being called to go to that place of compassion. Less about you, right? More about them. Okay. Okay, let's do a card. I think more will come with the card. Scorpio. Scorpio. There's Scorpio right there. We got this card last week too. It's revenge. It's revenge. Revenge in the 5th house. There's nothing fun about that card. It's wanting to get back at people. That's the ego, to get back at people that have been hurt. Right? So there could be a loss, some kind of loss. Remember, Jupiter and Neptune are basically, well, you could lose something, right? Because boundaries get dissolved, things get taken away when Neptune's there. But there could be the ego that comes in and is like, it's wrong, right? This is wrong that this person is leaving. Like you could be experiencing a loss through some kind of, would seem like a betrayal to you, where somebody leaves the relationship leaves you for someone else that their soul is calling them towards, right? But the ego is like, doesn't see it as that, doesn't see the divine order in this. It only sees like wants you to take revenge. Like, how dare they do that to you? You've done so much for them. You've done this and this and this, and they betrayed you. And you got to get back at them, right? And Scorpios are like this anyway, right? This is the shadow of Scorpio, is revenge, right? They don't get you in the moment. Scorpios, it said, they get you when you least expect it. So you got to watch that nature, right? That really dark nature, if you're a Scorpio, right? Because you're here to channel, you're here to learn to channel anger. Scorpios are here to channel anger. And this is anger, right? So you're not really angry at your partner, your romantic partner, but you're angry at God. That's who you're really angry at. Because deep down, you know that it's really the divine that's, right? You're a Scorpio. You know that the divine is in control of all of this, right? So to watch that with the anger, and it's just to feel it, not attached to the thoughts. Like, I've got to get back at that person because they did this to me. And it's like, you can't take these things personally, right? Feel the hurt, because there's hurt underneath this, right? Revenge, there's hurt of fear of abandonment or shame or guilt, right? There's a deeper emotions and feelings underneath revenge. So let's see where the healing card is for Scorpio. Revenge in the 5th house. So this one's called Scorpio Celestial Speed Up. Celestial Speed Up. And you can see it's like the hand of God, the rays of light coming down on this group of people. So this is about how fast healing can happen for you if you let go of this. How fast you can get from revenge to a place of compassion. That's the beauty of Scorpios. You are built and designed to go through major transformation, right? That's you, Scorpio. You're here to transform yourself, to transform other people, right? So you change and can really happen fast and quickly for you. So that's what this is showing me. Is let go of the revenge, not taking things personally, not listening to your ego. And like go, it's all God's will, right? Things pass and go, right? Things come and go, right? Moods come and go, people come and go. The only thing that doesn't come and go is me, right? My spiritual self, my soul. So that's what this is saying. If you start talking to yourself like that, you'll automatically, as a Scorpio, get into that state of consciousness of like peace, right? Forgiveness, compassion, that's your humanity. It can happen really, really fast for you to get into that state. You don't have to go like to 10 years to therapy. You can get there like really, really quickly with Celestial Speed Up card. This is about your evolution, And then something beautiful and wonderful comes in because it's your 5th house. It's your house of pleasure. It's your house of fun, right? Yeah. Enjoy. Just let go. Don't get into the lack consciousness, right? Consciousness of lack. There's only one romantic partner for me. There's many fish in the sea, right? Okay. And then we've got Sagittarius, right? And that's happening in the 4th house. Let's see, the 4th house for Sagittarius. Okay. So turbulence, and that's the emotional house. And so Sagittarius is really going to go through it too, with Neptune and Jupiter in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, that's right. And Pisces. So this is your This is your inner self, right? It's your most personal self that you don't show to the world because it's the opposite of the 10th house. Yeah. And this is your mother, your home, and your family. Okay. Can happen there. So there can be a lot of turbulence around, around your mother. This booty. You go down. Ooch. So there can be a lot of turbulence around your mother, right? Issues with your mother. Maybe you're a mother yourself, so there can be some turbulence around your identity as a mother. And just feeling it's such a personal house, right? It's such a personal house that it's going to be very, very emotional for you. So you may be thinking a lot about your childhood, right? With the 4th house there. It could be a lot of Scorpio too, should be looking at their inner child. But looking at your home life, Sagittarius, and that could be coming up too. Remember, it's a tsunami of emotions coming through with Neptune, Jupiter there, and letting go, right? So these are family secrets too. It's your ancestors, ancestral stuff. But really looking back at your past, right? Like really looking back at your past and letting that go and be more compassionate towards your mother would be a big message that I'm feeling, to be more compassionate towards your mother and not reacting to the turbulence that's going to be moving through you, right? All that childhood stuff, home life is being swept away with Neptune and Jupiter there too. So your relationship with your mother can be completely like changed and transformed during this time. Also, you could lose a home, like where you're living, right? Get evicted or something happens where you lose where you're living. Again, go to the grace, right? Go to the grace, and it's like something better is coming to me, like a better home that's more suited for me. So any loss, don't attach, right? No, it's best not to attach to anything during this time. Okay, so let's do a card for Sagittarius. Next card for Sagittarius. This one. We got a duplicate. So Leo and Sagittarius have a connection. There's the conspiracy of hatred there. So 4th house is like unlocking this hatred that you have towards the mother. This is the ego, right? Like, I can't believe my mother didn't, it's always what they didn't do, you know? Didn't protect me, didn't take care of me, right? She was a child, I was the adult, whatever it is, like feeling this is inner child, right? Stuff. It's like, oh, I hate her. I'll never be like her. And when we do that, when we put that energy out towards a parent, you know, I didn't like this about them and I hated this about them and I'll never be like them. You're also saying I'll never be the good stuff because we're a mixture of light and shadow, right? The child only sees the black and white, right? So what we're doing is putting our hands up to the gifts because our parents actually gave us gifts too. Our ancestors gave us gifts. So we're putting our hand up to that. So again, this is about self-hatred, right? So start with, you're going to feel a lot of emotions, turbulence around your mother, but go even deeper because it's something about yourself too, right? It's about yourself. Like go into the space of like, where is my ego teaching me that I should hate myself? I should hate myself because I'm vulnerable emotionally, right? I don't like that about myself, that I'm emotional and vulnerable and weak, right? So there's a lot here, but it's around like really go to your mother. Bring that up And it's not going to be too hard to find it, right? With Neptune and Jupiter coming through your fourth house. There's going to be a deep, deep cleaning for Sagittarius. Okay, so let's see the healing card for Sagittarius. This one. So it's light. So we have hatred, which is heavy, 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 heavy energy that weighs you down. And then we have light. So to me, this is about calling on the light, right? To shine a light on this, right? It's in the fourth house. You know what? I want to pick another card. Called to pick another card for Sagittarius with the light card. So let's do another card for Sagittarius with the light. It's this one. Oh, I knew I was going to get that one. Okay. That's awesome. So it's grace. Do you see that? That's a duplicate, another duplicate. So it's the mother holding the two babies. Grace. And then light. Oh, and look at like this is 88. And this is 77. That's an echo. Oh, I know what this is about. Okay. So this is about mothering yourself, right? Your inner child hates your mother because your inner child didn't get mothered the way that she thought she should. Or maybe she didn't get mothered at all, right? She didn't get that nurturing energy. Well, grace, because it's a mother, right, is telling you to mother yourself, right? To mother yourself. So give that, have a conversation with your inner child. Go deep into meditation. You can connect with your inner child. The inner child never grows up. It's still inside you, right? Have a conversation with that inner child. Like, what did you want? What did you want from your mother? Whatever that is. Well, I wanted more affection, right? I wanted more affection. I wanted more nurturing. Like, I didn't get that from my mother. I was neglected. It was all about her. She was a narcissist. Right, whatever it is, your inner child's not going to say she's a narcissist. That's when you know it's not your inner child, because they don't have that language, right? Or she just wasn't there for me. And then you give that to yourself, right? And that's grace. That's how you heal yourself, because your inner child doesn't want it from anybody else, that mothering, but it wants it from you, right? Your inner child wants that from you. So this is how you get rid of this, the hatred. And then you put your mother in her correct place, right? That's what my mother wound webinar is all about, right? It's about taking your mother and seeing her through meditation and the technology and teachings that she's a human. She's a product of her mothering as well, right? And so she just passed that along to you. And it puts her in her correct place. And it puts you in the divine, right? To your true mother. To your true mother, because that's our right, is to transfer our security from our earthly mother to the divine mother, So that's what I see there, using the light, right? This is very divine. And that will heal. And you're being supported with Neptune-Jupiter there in the fourth house to let this go, right? Let go of the grudge that you're holding against your mother, Sagittarius. Okay. And I think we're at the last with the old Capricorns. Let's get, okay. And Capricorn. So Capricorn's been in a rough many years since 2008. And I don't think I answered that question because somebody asked me. It's because Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008. right? And Pluto is like a wrecking ball, right? And it's been in your first house, Capricorn, since 2008. So I know many Capricorn suns and Capricorn moons and Capricorn risings, and they've been through so much. It's like one thing after another, after another, after another. Remember, the sign of Capricorn is karma. So Capricorns go through a lot of karma, especially the first half of their life. But as they get older, it becomes a lot easier. Their life becomes a lot easier, but they have a lot of karma, Capricorns. But 2025, 2026, Pluto's moving into Aquarius, so you're really going to feel that, right? So Capricorn is happening in your third house. So this is about communication. And what are you communicating? Well, you're learning to communicate your emotions, your emotional self. Now, Capricorns are not good with emotions, right? That's your opposite sign, Cancer. So this can be like a new language for you. Like you're learning this whole new language that you have no idea, right, how to express. So it can bring up vulnerability when you start expressing emotionally and how you feel about things. So you have to have compassion for yourself, right? Because you're learning, right? You're learning this new language. So it can bring up, and it's going to force you, right? Because it's moving through your third house. So you're going to be like overwhelmed by emotions. And Capricorns are so good at repressing and stuffing down their emotions and not even knowing what they feel. They don't know. There's something going on in there, but they can't translate it, because you need the Google translator, and that's your heart, right? When you open up your heart, you know what you can learn to express, because the heart helps you to express what's going on emotionally, right? So it's about opening your heart in the third house, but it's also getting used to and practicing to speak emotionally. So you want to be with people that you trust, you know? You don't want to be starting this off with people that you don't really trust, that are not emotionally available for you. But with people that, oh, I really trust them, then try. Like, just try. Like, I'm feeling, right? And there's only 3 primary emotions, Capricorn. There's fear, there's anger, and there's grief, right? So it's really easy. It's like going in, it's like, okay, what is it? There's something in here. What's the feeling? What's the emotion? Anger is really easy. You'll know that because it feels hot. But it's like fear is like different. Oh, I think I'm afraid. I think I feel afraid. And you start right there, right? That's all you have to do is start there, like baby steps. I'm feeling afraid. And you don't have to have a story about it. It's just like you start right there. I'm afraid. I'm feeling afraid. And this is how you're going to learn to speak emotionally, right? And even to speak it out loud to someone you trust. Like, I'm feeling afraid. I don't know why I'm feeling afraid, but maybe you have somebody in your life that can help you, like, translate that, right? Help you draw that out where you feel safe in expressing. So remember all the childhood stuff. You were serious, right? You probably attracted a parent there was no space for you. There was no space for you to speak about your emotions, right? As a Capricorn. And now you're learning, right? You're learning. And you're going to be forced to, right? With this Neptune-Jupiter conjunction. So this is how you think, like your whole way of thinking about emotions. As a Capricorn, it would be like, I've got no time for this, right? I got no time. This doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything to do with the practical world, right? So that's going to change because of how it's going to affect your thinking, right? This emotional wave moving through in the shadow of turbulence through your third house. And it's going to bring up huge issues with your siblings, right? Your brothers and your sisters. Huge issues. It's going to bring up a lot of turbulence, and it's going to this is like early childhood development. Yeah. So how you relate to your siblings, how you were in school, how you felt in school, maybe you felt like an outsider, right? All that stuff's going to come up for you, that turbulence, and it's just like to honor it. The turbulence is the emotions. That emotional cleansing is happening for you, Capricorn. So to trust that and know that your lesson during this time is to learn how to communicate your emotions and to just try, right? Just try. And you'll feel so liberated when you make that first move of like, I'm feeling afraid right now. Just even admit it to yourself. I feel afraid, right? It's going to be like a huge leap for you, like these little tiny baby steps. Okay? And you'll be supported, right? Neptune, Jupiter. So you're going to be supported in this this new endeavor of embracing your emotions. Okay, so let's do a card for Capricorn. Do a card for Capricorn. This one's, there we go. Projection. So this is the shadow card, right? The shadow card. So this is things that you don't like about yourself. Not even things that you don't like about yourself, things that you were taught to not like about yourself. Because we're talking about childhood wounds here, right? With this turbulence in the third house, coming from a sibling. So a sister or brother, right? This is about your sister or brother. That they didn't like something about you and it's going to bring up emotions, right? So what did you do? You buried it. Because the thing is with the sibling, the pecking order is no coincidence why we're in certain pecking orders, is that an older sibling can have a huge influence on us, right? After the parents, a sibling can have a huge influence on us. That's where the root of jealousy comes from, is a sibling, right? When the younger one is born, it can be jealousy issues. So a sibling, right, doesn't like used to make fun of you or tease you. You're just being your authentic self, whatever you're into as a child. You get that projection on you, and then you bury that part of yourself, right? You repress it and you bury it down and you make it wrong and you judge it. And then what you do, and then you forget about it, right? Because it's in your deep in your unconscious. And then you project it out onto other people and you judge them if they're like that, right? So if you were, I don't know, if you were a little kid and you were tapped into the invisible realms and you had like invisible friends, but you were actually maybe in the fairy world, you saw them and actually talked to them, and then your sibling comes along and makes fun of you, and then you make this wrong. You make this natural ability and gift wrong, that you're able to speak to other entities in different realms, right? Like the fairy realm, for instance. And then somebody who's like tapped into that, still tapped in, didn't let that go as an adult, is tapped into that realm, then it's like that projection comes out on them. They're like crazy, or they're insane, or they're not rooted to the real world, and it's all funny and laughter and games. Well, this is the projection, right? This is how projection works. So this is showing you to reclaim this lost part of yourself from childhood, right? That you were projected upon. It had nothing to do with you. It had to do with your siblings, right? And also to watch yourself. Who are you projecting on? How do you know you're projecting on someone? It's because you're judgmental and there's lots of emotions there, right? And now you're learning to speak emotional language. And this Jupiter Neptune is flying through your third house. So you're going to be like so overwhelmed by emotions. You're going to know where you're projecting, right? And then you're going to take responsibility and bring it back to yourself. Oh, I'm projecting on this person because I was projected upon. And this is a lost part of myself that wants to come back and be reclaimed. Because we want to become whole, you know? for the Aquarian age. We're picking up all those little lost parts of ourselves. And that's what healing is. Healing and wholeness come from the same root word. It's about bringing yourself back, all parts of yourself that you've disowned, right? So I would explore your sibling, like back when you were a child, what was going on with your sibling there. Okay. And let's go for the healing card for Capricorn. Healing card for Capricorn. Capricorn rising, sun, or moon. What's this one? Oh, it's the light. Light again. So we got the light card again, but I picked another one. This is commitment, right? This is commitment. Commitment means we're meant to commit. We're meant to commit. So what are you committing to, Capricorn, in the third house, right? You're not committing to this. Don't commit to this. Stop projecting, right? Stop projecting onto other people and stop taking other people's projection, right? How do you do that? Well, you commit to yourself, right? So emotionally, a good commitment to make emotionally when you're feeling the turbulence is, I will not leave the room, right? Start right there. There's a commitment. I'm not going to run away, right? Capricorns want to run away. I commit to staying in the room. I commit to working through this, whatever this is, right? With my sibling or whoever's in my life when I'm feeling this emotions. And this is a beautiful healing gift because commitment is like a rope that you attach yourself to, and it's your commitment that moves you through great transformation, right? So you're going through huge emotional transformation in how you speak and how you think, right? And how you communicate emotionally. So that's what I would say is to commit to yourself. Commit to like the emotions. Don't run up in your head, right? Commit to the emotions and how I'm feeling, right? And it's like, listen to that. Like, what are the emotions communicating to me? And be patient with yourself, right? Commit to that. And then that's going to get rid of this, right? This projection. Because this is trying to get rid of it. This isn't commitment. It's trying to get rid of it. It's somebody else's problem. Somebody else. It's not me. It has nothing to do with me. You commit that it is you, right? And that there's something to learn here. So that's good for Capricorn. Okay. And that's it. And let me see. That's it. Let's get out. Okay. And there we go. Oh. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Okay. I just want to get out of here so everybody can see me. There we go. Okay. 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 Thank you, everybody. It was a little bit long, but I got the point across. So this is a really, really like precious time. And it's not going to happen again for 166 years. So the people that are on the spiritual journey right now that are conscious of it, this is your time. Remember I talked about the fire department and we're all bored and we're down there playing cards? Well, this is our call. We're getting our call. So, right, really go deep in the emotional work in the house that I talked about. Like listen to it again. Your sun, moon, and rising, and especially like go into your human design chart too and look to see if you have the 36 because it's going to be like a double whammy for you in terms of your opportunity to transform and to do this emotional work. Okay? So have a great evening or day wherever you are out in the world, and I'll see you in the next video. And please leave your comments below too. Love to hear what you have to say and what you have to share. Okay. Thank you. Satnam Aloha.